Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Pirate Rugby podcast. We have a packed show for you today looking at the Olympic Sevens, the upcoming Rugby Championship, the future of the Springboks midfield axis, and maybe a little bit of Currie Cup if we've got time. Don't forget to check out our socials and subscribe to our Substack where we release long-form articles every Sunday. This week, we looked at how the English Premiership holds back the development of talent for the national side. Links for that is in the Linktree description in the description box below. If you're listening to the audio version, please give us a 5-star rating. And if you are watching the video, please like and subscribe. But now, as I'm sure you have no doubt deduced, this is not a normal episode, and I am not here alone. I am joined by Rugby YouTube starman, the happiest Lions fan on the whole of the internet, and all-round legend, Riaan Louw. Riaan, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm very good. Happiest Lions fan is still a very sad person, you know. You're grading on a scale there. But I'm well. I'm a bit on a holiday, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to have a chat about rugby. That's always a good time.
Is it the depths of winter for you in Joburg at the moment?
Got my blankie. I've had a coffee. Yeah, it is freezing. It is very, very cold, especially in what used to be a garage is now an office, so it's not exactly built for heat. I'm freezing.
Okay. I'm sweating. I'm in the spare bedroom, which is the hottest room in the house, and it's been 28 degrees today. It's 27 at the moment. For people who live in hot countries, in England, that's really hot. That's too hot. And I am not.
That's just a lovely day out for me.
I am not built for the heat. There's some British people who are like, as soon as it gets like ticks over that 20, it's like I'm walking around town with my top off. This is the life. I'm sunbathing on roundabouts. Whereas there's other people who are just like, when's it going to rain again? Bring back the rain. Bring back the rain.
Yeah, I know. That's how we're feeling right now. It's bone dry in Joburg during winter, and in August the wind picks up, and it's just dust and billowing wind, and you just like, please rain, please just come suppress the dust. It's terrible. I hate August. It's the worst month of the year for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So we're recording in August. For anybody who's listening, well, it's not actually August yet. It's the 30th of July. It'll be August soon. By the time this comes out, it'll be August. Well, the thing that's going on right now is the Olympics. Has the gold final in the women's sevens just kicked off?
I'm not sure. I think so. I think it's probably running right now.
Yeah, it has kicked off. It has kicked off.
Yeah.
So we'll refer back to that in the meantime. But are you a big Olympics fan? I obviously we know you for your rugby. Are you a sports nut? Are you like if there's like two chickens fighting over a whatever, I'll watch that.
Yeah, it used to be that way. Yeah, I used to have basically in South Africa we've got SuperSport, which is like, I don't know, 11 channels showing everything in the world. That used to be the only channels I knew on on my DSTV package. I didn't know what any of the other channels were. Since I've had kids, I've had to narrow it down, you know. So there's no more watching cycling or any of that kind of stuff. But definitely the Olympics have been a lot of fun. That's always I can get my wife into that as well. So fencing and I've been watching archery. That's been brilliant. Really enjoyed the Korea versus China final the other day. So yeah, during Olympics, there's a bit more of a broader scope, and just the basic things, you know, rugby, cricket, maybe a bit of soccer here and there, but not that much. But Olympics definitely, and the sevens has been brilliant. Yeah.
Tala from Rugby Bits Pod is the most sports obsessed man I've ever seen. Like
I don't know when he works.
I thought I was bad with rugby and watching too much rugby, and Formula One and football are the main ones that I watch. But then he's out here like tweeting about NBA and NFL and stuff, and I'm like, dude, what? How? Like he must have 3 screens at all times just going. It must look like CNN in his house.
I've had to make a choice because I'm a bit of a gamer actually. So I watch like Twitch, and I watch like people play games, and I watch game competitions as well. So that has even eaten into my sports watching stuff now as well. So when I was younger, that was all I did all day long, was watch games, watch sports. Now, no, 2 kids in the house, you cannot. The TV is there for Disney Plus. Bluey is all that we watch now.
Oh, Bluey. I have been on many a rugby podcast that has devolved into a Bluey podcast, and I don't have kids, so I'm there like, I don't know, I can't relate to this, but I know it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So
don't worry, you don't have to watch it.
Okay. So keeping it vaguely rugby related then. So what have you been enjoying the sevens? Where like we said, the women's sevens final is going on, but what did you think of the men's sevens and the Blitzboks getting a shock bronze medal?
Yeah, I was sure they were going home in the pool stages. I saw that draw as well, that we were in the group with, was it New Zealand, Ireland, us, Japan, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sorry guys, we're going home. We've had a terrible year. I think we've been lacking a bit of talent in recent years. And I was sure, no, we're not going anywhere. It's going to be nice to be there. Thanks for coming. But yeah, that's getting out of the group stages was very nice. Winning against Japan, and then the shock win against New Zealand was. I'm not going to say it wasn't. Yeah, I was delighted. It was
10-phase defense on your line. I was like, what? I thought this was sevens. What's going on?
Yeah, and kicking the ball away constantly as well. Yeah. Like no one does it like us. It's just, it was so good to just see that happen, to see, okay, now it looks like the Blitzboks we know, because Neil Powell used to coach them and he was like a taskmaster. He would drop you if you even looked slightly like you weren't giving it every single bit of your life. And that's why you had for guys like Havana Koch and Kwagga Smith and Colby, these people who are tiny, who should, give up sometimes, but they do not. Yeah. They just fight. And we've seemed to have lost that a bit. But in this Olympics, it just came back all of a sudden when it mattered. And won us the jammiest little bronze medal ever. I'm so happy.
I'm sure there's some jokes to be made about South Africans showing up once every 4 years to win the big games, but we'll gloss over that. We'll gloss over that, and just in the final as well. Well, there's an aspect of the final that we'll leave for a second, but just the whole. I don't watch sevens, and I was saying, we were talking about offline, like I should watch sevens more. This is great. But the whole event of it, of having France in the final with like 70,000 people in the Stade de France and against Fiji, talk about turning up every 4 years as well. Just what an evening of sport that was to watch.
It couldn't have been more perfect, That's what everyone wanted last year to be. Sorry for spoiling that party. But just to have that's that little taste of what could have been last year, if a quarterfinal just went slightly differently. To see that stadium rocking like that, and just knowing that we have a chance here to make history against one of the best teams, the best Olympic rugby team ever in the 3 Olympics. It was amazing. It was absolutely brilliant. I thought Fiji would do it.
Because France drew with USA first game. So I was like, this is going to be a proper bust. This is going to be one of all the hype and the progression. But they were one of those teams that just does enough to get through and keeps on doing that until the final, which is what cup sport is all about, I guess.
Yeah, just brilliant second halves. I don't know why would they all of a sudden be so good every time the second half starts. They were great. We'll see now how it goes post sevens, because I hear a certain Mr. Dupont is not going to come back. He's moving back to 15s, obviously.
Well, I think it was always a bit of a marketing thing of like someone high up in France somewhere got on the phone and was like, hey, listen, here's what's going to happen. And then made it happen.
You will play.
Which is cool. I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing about the women's sevens versus the men's sevens is the men's sevens, like in the 17, they might drop one in, like they had Nwangwi Tuase in Australia and
Ratu van Manda,
he had a great tournament, and then Keenan for the Irish. Whereas for the women, like the GB team, for example, had Jazz Joyce, Lisa Thompson, Ellie Kildunn, like all these 15 stars. There's a lot more crossover in the women's, which kind of in a funny way makes it a bit more. It feels like a bigger deal in the women's somehow. I don't know. People don't hate me for saying that.
But it's like, I mean, what would a lot of the women's players be doing if it wasn't for the sevens? They would have a 6-month off season, and you want them to keep playing. You want these players to be fit, to be professional rugby players. And what better way to do it than go play sevens? Well, it's a shame there's no more forwards going across as well. There wasn't more space for them as well. So I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, obviously I guess I don't know if she would have played, but Sophie Good getting injured, she did her ACL, I think, playing for
Mm,
Saracens. The Canadian captain, I think she might have played. I don't know. She's a forward. She's number
yeah.
8. Um, the one that I am ashamed to say that I didn't know about until this Olympics, and now I'm like, how have I not known about this? Is Ilona Maher.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. She's now this
I,
massive
yeah,
personality. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know about it either.
And like most followers of any rugby player, including the men's, more followers than Sia Khaleesi, which I've joked about on Twitter of like Sia Khaleesi's probably already FaceTimed her to say that she's amazing because he's just that
Yeah,
kind of annoyingly
yeah.
perfect man. Um, but yeah, just when I first saw Ilona Maher running with the ball, I was like, good grief, that is a
She will
scary sight in
destroy
a good
me.
way.
Every bone in my body would break if I were to try and tackle her. Yeah, no, she is massive. But Jazz Joyce did that tackle on her. It was brilliant. Size size
Yes.
doesn't always matter that much. But yeah, so good for the game to have someone that just explode like that, and someone in a market that you would want to be growing in. To have an
Mm.
American person, a player, become this big, just brilliant. I'm so excited for it. It feels like this sevens, especially now that the USA won the bronze. It's been a moment. Something has happened during this tournament. It feels like, ooh, maybe we're gonna break a bit of ground here after the sevens tournament. I'm hoping at least.
I'm hoping at least as well. I'm
Yeah,
hoping at least as
yeah,
well. So,
yeah.
all right, we've danced around it. So let's just jump headfirst into it. The chat, the debate, the thing that's got everyone
Mm.
talking, the GOAT chat. So let's just address it front and center. Portia Woodman. She's currently playing in the gold medal final for New Zealand. You did an awesome tribute to her on your channel. I thought it was great.
Mm.
I remember my first time seeing her play. I was like, "Ooh, this lady is a lot better at the rugbies than all of the other ladies."
Yeah,
Um,
no, just
it,
she looks about 7 years ahead of everyone else in terms of professionalism and fitness and everything. Just like absolutely born to be a rugby player. So balanced when she runs. It's like she's going top speed and her hair is barely even moving. She is so
yeah,
good and compact runner, doesn't have flailing arms all over the place. That's the first thing I noticed about her. And then yeah, just incredible rugby player. Almost gone as well. Too soon.
yeah. See,
One of
she's got
these
that kind of
days.
serial killer vibe about her as well. Like I was
Just
just
mean,
watching
yeah.
a clip of her, and she handed off a player by the throat, and the player was kind of beaten. The player was done, but then she reached back a bit more to grab her by the throat a bit more and throttle her a bit more, and then drop her to the ground and then go and score a
Yeah.
try.
Yeah, just she needs someone to challenge her. She's just been like someone who's just never been challenged in her life. Just anyone come
Yeah,
and give me grief. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so talking about obviously the massive discourse around Dupont that's been on
Mm,
Twitter over the last. We're for people listening to this, we're recording this on Tuesday. It is day 4 of the
yeah.
GOAT debate,
Yeah.
and it is slowing down a little bit, but it is not over.
Yeah.
From your point of view, coming from a South African point of view, and a lot of the pushback has come from South African fans.
Ugh, tell me
Why
about it. Yeah.
why why do you think there is the pushback on Dupont being the GOAT? Do you think
Yeah.
why do you think it has become such an emotional topic?
It's a strange one to me. Us South Africans now have our feet in two hemispheres for the last few years. I would have thought more South Africans would watch French rugby and see Dupont play. I don't know if it's just a fact of people don't see him play or something like that. Some of it, I don't know if it's insecurity, like, no, it can't be someone from the Northern Hemisphere. The Northern Hemisphere rugby is shit. Southern Hemisphere forever. It's a bit of village. This is my village. This is my team. No one else is better than my team. Obviously, tribalism, that's part of sport. But just the violent pushback to it has been very upsetting to me, actually. Like, people should just chill out a bit. It's an opinion. You don't have to attack someone personally. We're obviously talking about Squidge here. The way people have been going after him, writing multiple page tweets about how he's a fraud and all that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. He just said this guy's the greatest of all time. and it's his opinion. It doesn't matter if you don't agree with it or not. So I think it's just South Africans we do love our rugby. We are obsessed. I don't think people understand until they come here how big rugby is in this country. It is everything to us. Somehow still not the biggest sport. Soccer is still bigger, but we are on a Friday. Everyone goes to work wearing their rugby jerseys, their Springboks. We call it Bok Friday. Every Friday, work day, casual day, half the office will have rugby jerseys on, the Springbok jersey.
That's so
on.
cool.
If they're playing on the weekend or not, yeah. That's a thing that we do in our country. If you walk into any store, you'll be able to buy rugby merch. There's always a game on. Schools rugby is absolutely massive. When we were in Bloemfontein, actually, a couple of weeks ago for the Portugal game, there was a game between Grey Bloem and Grey PE happening, and the town was standing still for that, not for the Springbok game. That game was much bigger, and there were like 1,200 kids that came up from Port Elizabeth from the coast because they were coming to play rugby. And both those schools can field like 26, 27 teams on a weekend to just play rugby against each other. So it is massive. And if you in any way tell us we are not the best, or the team we respect the most, New Zealand, are not the best, then we are going to go after you. And just a bit too much. And I think it's just we don't have a very good sarcasm or nuance radar.
Yeah.
Afrikaners are very literal people. They're not very poetic or any of that. Even our art is very literal. So if you say something, we take it at face value. There is no reading between the lines or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it can get under people's skin very easily. I feel like I'm apologizing for everyone, but that's just how I see it, basically.
Yeah, no, I see it. And part of me is like, yeah, if you're backing your own guy, I can kind of forgive it to an extent. Obviously, if you're going over the top with like the language you're using and things and directing people and stuff, that's different. But if you're like no, I think my guy is better and I will die on this hill, then that's what being a sports fan's about. I've got no problem with that.
Yeah.
And and if with regards to the debate itself, if people have got a criteria, because I'm coming at it from having had GOAT debates in Formula One. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a huge Lewis Hamilton fan. So I've had that
Schumacher,
debate for check the scoreboard, but so I've got that, and I'm coming at it from, obviously, I think everybody knows the Messi Ronaldo debate, or most people do. I can only imagine what tennis fans think of all this. Like, I accidentally strayed into tennis Twitter once, and it was brutal.
I don't know how closely you follow cricket, but there's having a 1.4 billion Indians coming at you it's a whole nother level. We are in a small pond in rugby. If you want to get eviscerated, try and go up against India cricket Twitter. There is nothing like it. There is nothing like it on the planet.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's part of the thing about rugby as well, is it's such a small pond, and everybody's watching the same thing. I think that was the thing with Dupont as well, is everybody was watching the same thing, so everybody had an opinion. That kind of added to it as well. But for me, goat debates, I can't remember who summed it up best, but someone said goat debates are to be had in the pub after a few pints with like three people.
Lana said that,
yeah, maybe. And then as soon as you leave the pub, don't just leave it in there. Just don't bother trying to get it out. So so whatever opinions people have, whatever criteria people have for what the GOAT is, fine. What someone thinks, whoever people think the GOAT is, it's not bothered. And it is a shame that it got toxic, because I did write a script for a video about who is the GOAT. And I would just read it back, and I saw the discourse, and I was like, I don't want to get a part of it.
Yeah.
You're obviously not making videos at the moment. You didn't fancy making a video about it or anything?
I would have probably lost focus about how it's impossible to say who it is, who's the best of all time, who's the greatest of all time. Whoever you say is going to be wrong to a million people. And I would have probably gone off script into how people are treating other people and all that kind of stuff. I never do I am the opposite of face value most of the time. I'm always reading between the lines. So I would not have enjoyed doing a video about that, because much time. If you want to try and argue who the best is of all time, you have to go through so many like history books and stats, and because you need to back that thing up. You cannot just say this is the best of all time without having multiple reams of stats and records, because that's the first thing everyone will throw in your face is, oh, but he lost against this team that year, blah 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 blah, and that throws him out of the conversation. So no, I'm not going to get into that. It is like you said, I'll keep it between me and my mates. Interestingly, a lot of my mates are very close to saying, yeah, Dupont is probably the best of all time. So on my WhatsApp groups, it's not unanimous, but it's pretty close. If he wins a World Cup, I think most of my mates would definitely say, yeah, best of all time.
Well, speaking of the other goals that we mentioned, so New Zealand are currently 19-12 up in the gold medal final, but Portugal would indeed get a yellow card in the first half. So
okay,
the whole debate is mudded, so we better move on.
She's going to blow it.
So I did want to talk to you about YouTube and making videos then. So how long have you been doing YouTube now?
Yo, it's been way too long. I think my script number is up to 160 would be the next video would be script number 160, but there's a few in between as well that don't follow the normal rugby update scripts. That's weekly, and I've missed weeks, so it's at least 3 years by now.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's been very slow. I'm terrible at YouTube. I don't know if anyone's realized this. I'm very bad at YouTube. I don't ask for people to like and subscribe in any of my videos. I always forget to put that in. I do not promote it on multiple channels. It's usually just posted on Reddit and on Twitter. I only do one a week, which YouTube hates. You have to do one a day or once every 3 days. Then they'll start pushing your videos. And they're always less than 8 minutes long, so they can't put mid-roll ads.
Oh,
so.
I know. Yeah. But you have to be careful with the mid-roll. So this is just the nerdy YouTuber chat. If you just put click automatic placement, it will put one every minute.
Yeah. So no, I definitely I'm terrible at it. The only reason it's grown, I suppose, maybe is because it's different from everyone else's. I'm not just a talking head, I script and I edit and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'm pretty bad at it. Otherwise I would have
your first bit of editing that really caught my eye when I watched the video was the one, I can't remember, I think it was during the World Cup, where you were throwing the ball like that. But your audio listeners, I'm doing a throw, and it was missing the bin, and I was like, oh, this is cool, this is different. What made you go, because you're a, with due respect, you're not a teenager, you're a full-grown adult. What made you think, I'm gonna do YouTube?
I don't know. It was obviously a lot of people picked up new hobbies during COVID, and I started just after COVID. So, but for years, I don't know. I hate talking about myself like this. I'm very creative. I do enjoy art. I enjoy writing. I've never been trained professionally or trained officially how to write or anything. I'm Afrikaans. English isn't my first language. You'll pick it up in the videos. My grammar is often terrible. Is and R is often swapped in Afrikaans because we don't know the plural and the singular and all that kind of stuff. But so my only outlet for creativity was work, and my work is I'm a structural engineer by trade. That's what I do during the day.
I'm an automotive engineer.
Oh, is it? Cool. So you're a mechanical guy. I'm a civils guy.
Not really, but anyway. Yeah, I've got a friend who's got a civil engineering degree, and he did his thing in tunnels and soil, and I was like, let's talk about something else. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
So there wasn't a lot of outlet for creativity in that. And I am very it builds up and builds up in me, and tweeting is not a thing I do for any other reason than just to get a thought out of my head. But that's not enough, so I had to start writing. And I told my wife for years, I wish I could start like a rugby podcast or rugby thing, but none of my friends wanted to do it. And then Squidge started his thing, and that was actually a big inspiration for me to see not just a talking head, but actually something that is more edited, more more than just sitting in front of a camera and talking at the screen. I thought I could do that. And yeah, from there, I just started filming on my little camera, my phone camera. I've got a better camera now. And yeah, I just started it. I've never been scared to talk in front of people or embarrass myself. So I was just like, yeah, write a script, let's go. And please don't watch those first videos. They are very bad.
Yeah, I am quite jealous of your camera. I'm weighing up my next production purchases. I'm still using my phone camera, which is, it does the job. The microphone. I saw your tweet about the microphone etiquette today, so I'm conscious of that. But I'm jealous of your audio and camera work, definitely.
It's the cheapest stuff possible. I'll show you. I've got it right here. I've just got a little Canon EOS M50. I think it was in Rand value. It was 11,000 Rand. Came with a lens, not very fancy or anything like that. It's specifically made for YouTube. It's got a little mic in, and I think this mic cost 130 Rand. That would be like 50p. And it's just a little cable, a little lavalier mic that you just clip to your chest and away you go. That's already better than any phone mic you'd ever be able to get. The mic in front of you is 10 times better than this little lavalier, but it's good enough.
I've got all these things to learn, but other things in life cost money. Yeah. So with your, like I was saying to you, your content and your style of content is quite unique. I'm not aware of anybody who does the kind of thing that you do. Did you see a gap in the YouTube market and think, no one's doing this, I should do this? Or was it just like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and if other people are doing it, cool?
It was, I thought to myself, there's this rule in filming. I don't know why I know these things, where it says if you don't change the scene every 6 or 9 seconds, a person starts to drift. So you have to do something visual to keep someone's attention. And as I watched one rugby YouTube content creator after the next, I was so conscious of this rule about every 9 seconds, do something to reignite my visual interest. And that is what I took into my videos. I was gonna do something that was gonna keep you entertained. That's rule number one. Not be good at rugby stats or good at rugby analysis or anything like that. Entertainment was the first rule. And through being entertaining, hopefully I can teach you a little bit about rugby, a little bit about what happened on the weekend. Because what my thing is an update, rugby update. It's about what happened over the weekend. It's never about predicting, because I'm terrible at that. I cannot predict what's going to happen, but I can at least tell you what happened in the most entertaining way possible. And that's what I've been doing since day one. Just pick every game that I've watched, write something about it, and try and have the video have a theme. Not always possible because the timelines are tight, but as long as it's entertaining, that's my main goal.
Yeah, well, speaking of themes, you tweeted about it the other day, and it was the big news that the URC has done huge numbers this season. It's broken the broadcast record by 10 million,
which is insane. That's like a country.
It's like that's a lot of people, and I think it's more than it. It's the same as I think Ireland and Scotland combined. Like
that's 5 New Zealands. 5 New Zealands, every person in that country. I think New Zealand's 2 million people watched extra people.
So you were saying how your URC content has done much bigger, and URC's own YouTube channel, I think, has gone from 8 million to 40 million views in the last season.
Yeah,
they've made a really great change there. But are you kind of, we know like the difference between international viewership and club viewership is so vast. Were you pleasantly surprised that this URC stuff, this is feasibly something that I could do constantly? It's not a novelty.
Yeah, well, for me, it's the rugby I watch, and so that's what I'm going to talk about. If 5 people watch it, I don't care. It's for me, it's a creative outlet. It's not about getting views. For a year, I had 60 subs. I was getting maybe 100 views a week if I was lucky, and I kept doing it because it was fun for me. That's the main thing I do it for. Like you guys always say, we don't depend on this for money, so just watch and enjoy it. I don't depend on YouTube for money, so I do it for fun. That's why I'm willing to take breaks like I'm on now. So I always knew as soon as the Six Nations ends, I'm going to go from 10,000 views down to 500 views, because it's back to the URC, back to club rugby. No one's going to watch it. But post World Cup, it's kind of didn't fall down again. It's only maybe halved from international rugby, where I would get 10, 20,000 maybe in international games. I'm sitting at 5 to 8,000 on ERC games or ERC weekends, which is interesting. I think a big part of it is that the URC allows me to use their footage. There's no.
I think opening with the game footage is a really smart thing. That's something that I'm starting to pick up on as well. I think that because people hover over it on the YouTube page and like rugby and click on it.
Yeah. So photos and stuff is interesting. It's better than someone sitting just talking at the camera. Sorry, Mark, from 2 Cents Rugby. You're still interesting.
I love his pod though. I love 2 Cents Distracted. I've got to watch this one.
Yeah, it's so good. It's one of my favorites. And that's also it's about entertainment. It's not just dry rugby, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that being able to use footage has made the videos way more interesting in my estimation. And I think there's not a lot of people doing URC specific videos, at least. There's you, there's me, and then I don't know, maybe Rugby Bits on their podcast, they talk about it. And other than that, I mean, there's all the Welsh podcasts and all the Irish podcasts, but that probably comes from the old Celtic League and all that kind of stuff.
That's something that me and Ender spoke about, and we've spoken about it, saying we would probably be bigger if we were more specific. Like if we were just about the Irish provinces or the Welsh regions, we'd probably be bigger because we'd have a niche that people would go like, if I want to know about this thing, I click on that. Whereas being more general, I think sometimes holds us back. But yeah, it's just we said that
the thing is with niche, if you focus on a single team, I found that I will, because we're playing the fucking Ospreys this week, I will watch the Ospreys Airy podcast, you know. But as soon as that game's over, I'll never click on it again for 2 months until I want to know something again. But if you're a generalist, I'll click on you every week because I know you'll talk about my team that week. Yeah, so that's the distinction I see between the two.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it's like gonna make you money or make you get views, but it will make me come back, is knowing I'm watching something that's going to talk about the whole field and not just something specific, which I do enjoy, but I've only got so many hours in the day.
Yeah, and it goes back to as well of you have to make something that you're interested in as well. It's like I don't just watch the Scarlets. I watch Top 14. I watch Super Rugby. I watch all of this. So you got to make something that you want to.
You got to like as well. What you do. Yeah.
Speaking of liking what people do, I've noticed with your views when you upload, you get a big spike of views quite early on. Whereas us, we get our views build very slowly, and we won't. Yeah. We'll do the majority of our views on like day 3, whereas you get like 1,000 views in the first 24 hours. So you've got a very you've got a following that's like, oh, the Riaan video's up, and they'll watch it straight away, which is awesome. But you don't seem to get any hate, and which is impressive because you make jokes. And obviously when you make a joke, there's someone has to be at the butt of the joke. But maybe you're going to tell me that I haven't read your comment section, but you don't seem to be like you don't get accused of being a hater or anything. You don't get accused of having an agenda.
Yeah. It's because I'm very upfront. I think I always you can tell I'm tongue in cheek. I'm winking at the camera in my writing. You know, it's not mean spirited. And I try not to punch down. That's one of my rules as well. It's very hard to punch down when you're as small as me, but there is a responsibility, you know, to not bully. I try not to be a bully about when I make jokes about teams. Sometimes it feels like I would be bullying, you know, Zebra and all that kind of stuff.
You've DM'd me about the Scarlets. That's bullying.
Yeah, I'll bully you. You can handle it. It's punching. I'm in the third world. Okay, you're the first world. I'm punching up. Okay, so
old chestnut.
But no, I think it's because I don't know. I'm upfront about my biases. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a Lions fan, even though I will sometimes play the character on camera that I am very unbiased, but I will obviously be biased. So that obviously tells people, okay, this guy's tongue in cheek. And it is, I don't know why I get the spike so early. I'm very bad at uploading at the same time. And sometimes I upload at 12 o'clock at night SA time because I just finish the edit, upload. There's no like rule that it's always at this time or always at that time. When the video is done, I will, like I told you, I'm terrible at YouTube. I don't know what the best things are to do. But yeah, I think it's just being positive, not being mean-spirited, not punching down, and being obvious that, yes, there are teams that I like more than other teams, but the other teams, I will never be mean about them. I'll make jokes about them, but it'll be fun. Next week, I'll make a joke about the team I love, and that's keeps it balanced.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Do you think, last question about rugby YouTube is, do you think there is still a niche? Do you still think there's an area of sports YouTube that is unexplored for rugby? What's the one thing where you think someone should start doing that because there's a gap there for them if they did?
More long form stuff, I think. You don't get a lot of 30, 40-minute things, which is something I want to do. I did that What is Rugby video at the start of the year because I had the whole December to
everybody loved that. It was great.
Yeah, and that took ages because it's the longest video I ever did that wasn't just a straight up interview with someone. It was 15 minutes long, but it took like 5 days to edit, and it took longer than that to write because it's reams and reams of paragraphs of writing, editing it down, writing again. No, take this out, put that in. Why am I trying to say this? What am I trying to say? Okay, by this time, what am I telling people? How do I end it? That takes a lot of time, but I feel like there is a gap in the market for, I don't know if you know, like Vox Media or Search Party. There's these YouTube channels, or even H Bomber Guy. Okay, I'm not going to do a 4-hour video, but where you really dive deep into a subject. You've done the little history of the Lions thing, but make that 30 minutes long. But unfortunately, how do you do that? You then have to go and interview a Lions person, go to the stadium, show where it's from, all that kind of stuff. I would love to do as well, but I know a video like that would take ages. But I would watch that. I feel like more people would watch that as well.
Absolutely. I've written something that I know is going to be my longest video, and I'm dreading recording and editing it because I'm like that. Is when you actually see it written down on paper compared to the script length for the short videos, you think, okay, this is actually going to be quite a big job. And like you said, we have normal lives, normal jobs.
Yeah,
it's if we were full-time YouTubers, it'd be a different thing, but that's not.
Yeah. If I was 20 years ago, 22 years old, maybe I would be able to do that. Just do super long videos. Yeah, but now no, there's no chance.
All right. Changing gears completely then, let's talk about the Springboks. So it feels like from the outside, being a Springboks fan is pretty cool right now. You seem like pretty much the happiest fan base. You love your players, you love your coach. Every test match is a party. Is that a fair reflection?
Yeah, it's accurate. I'm sorry to say. It's sorry to sound like very, very smug, but yeah, it's a good time to be a Springbok fan. I mean, how could you not be? The World Cup is everything to us, and winning it twice in a row has made everyone very happy, and it's grown massively. Our fan base in this country has grown massively, and yeah, it's just a very good time. People, our coaches made a very good way of binding us together by making everyone else the bad guy. That's probably half the reason that people, South Africans on Twitter, are so mean, is because everyone's against us. But no, in country, it's a lot of fun. We loving life at this moment. Every game is still nerve-wracking. We can still lose. I mean, we're still at 65-70% win record, but at least we go into each game thinking we can win it, which is nice. Better than a few years ago.
Speaking of that, I mean, how long has it been since you won a Rugby Championship? 2019 was the last time you did it. 2018.
Yeah, it was 2019. I don't understand why we're so bad at it. We love that tournament. It's not as big as the Six Nations, obviously, but I really, 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 really enjoy it. The Rugby Championship. Even though New Zealand win it every single time, I cannot wait when it comes around. It is it is the best thing for me.
I think it's the format, because in the Six Nations you've got it's one-off games, 5 one-off games, whereas you play everyone playing each other in twice. I think in the Rugby Championship it just means that everything always defaults back to average, I think, and on average the All Blacks are better. But is there, with the transition that the All Blacks are going through now, is there pressure on the Springboks to say it's about bloody time you won one of these? We are the best team in the world. We should be a level ahead of the All Blacks based on the churn and not the disruption, but the change they've had. Is there that kind of no, we actually, you're going down to Australia where you've not got a great record, but it's like we got to beat this Australia, surely.
No, this is the year we have to win it. I mean, there is no excuse. We have both New Zealand games on South Africa, I think. So there is no excuse. This is the one we have to win. I think it is probably been earmarked by the Bok team as well, that yes, this is the one we have to win, because we do have to start at some point looking at this age group, the age profile of our team. We cannot keep this group together for another 4 years, I don't think. So, and like you said, this Aussie team is there for the taking, even though we've said that 100 times before about Aussie teams, and then we go there and we lose. And as well, the Argentina team, they are an unknown. Usually they start slow, but they do pick up pace as the tournament goes on. So it is. Travel has always been a good excuse, but the way the format is now, where we do play two games in your country against one of the teams, and then you just travel and get to the other teams, but you stay in those countries as well for longer. They've reduced the flights. It should be simpler to win, and there should be less of an excuse of travel and all that kind of stuff now. So for me, this is the one we have to win. I'm very, very excited, very nervous as well.
Do the All Blacks still give you the fear, even though they've got that new coach, new team? They've lost probably their 5 best players, you'd say.
No, they will always scare me. It's like you can bring out the worst, most under 20 New Zealand team. If they pull on that jersey and they are standing across from people in a green jersey, they grow another arm and a leg. And the same with us. We lost 57-0 in Albany, the worst day of my life. The next week we lost by 1 point. The exact same players, the exact same coach, but that emotional drive that we have to when we play against New Zealand is always there. So this New Zealand team, unfortunately, it's Razor. I have much trauma playing against that man.
Because when doing the research for the Lions video, I was like, God, this guy ruined these people's lives.
I was there. It's the only rugby game I've ever cried at, was that final. Ellis Park does not get full with red jerseys. It gets full with green jerseys all the time. But seeing it full of red jerseys is like...
is that why you've got the anti-Quagga agenda?
Yeah, that bugger again. He will never be forgiven. That was a new coach, Scott Robertson. Where has this man come from? And he won that tournament, and he never lost another one again since then. So that was the first one, and he broke our hearts. So I will never not be scared of Scott Robertson or any New Zealand side. It doesn't matter if they're playing here or if we're playing in New Zealand. They are always terrifying.
I love the Springbok All Black rivalry. I love when you speak to a South African or a New Zealander about the other side, the way they change, like especially the players. Like they can be laughing and joking, and then the interviewer can go, "Now tell me about the All Blacks," and they go, and the face drops, and they're like, it's a completely thing. We're talking business now, and that kind of I believe that I'm better than you, but I know that you can beat me. And especially with the All Blacks, I don't think the All Blacks have that for anybody else. I don't think the All Blacks have a kind of we've got to watch out for even someone like Ireland, who are clearly amazing and arguably as good as the Springboks. I don't think the All Blacks have the thing in their head of watch out for the Irish, but they do have it for watch out for the South Africans.
I think it might be growing for Ireland, though. I think in the last that tour that Ireland took to New Zealand might have done a big number on them. And the World Cup, I mean, look how hard they had to work to beat them in that quarterfinal. So it might be there, but the history is not there. We have the same thing with Ireland now, where it's bloody hard to beat those guys, and it's really annoying. But as soon as I think about the All Blacks, there's like this entire history of rugby people behind me who have loved playing against them, hated them, loved, respected them. You just feel 100 years of history behind you when you think about playing against the All Blacks, and that's something that no other team has for us. I can see black and white photos and replays of the Boks playing New Zealand and tackling them, and balls, big muddy balls just rolling on all over the ground. I can see that in my head whenever I think about New Zealand versus All Blacks. It is, yeah, it's another story. It might be
Yeah.
a bit bad for us because we obsess about them so much that we forget that, Australia is not bad. We're not just going to go there and win and focus on the All Blacks. So yeah, it's to our detriment sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to what you were saying about getting the new talent in, to borrow a rugby phrase, you've got a generation of razzle dazzlers coming through, especially in the backs. Some incredible players. We've seen what you guys at the Lions have been doing this season. Probably the most fun team in the URC to watch. But you've got the Stormers guys as well who love to do those, and then the Bulls have turned into the Jouet team out of nowhere, which is so weird.
Yeah.
And now you've got this debate about the 10 jersey. Now in Wales, when it's a debate about the 10 jersey, it's always on the basis of he's rubbish, drop him. This guy who's never played international, get him in and we'll win a Grand Slam. Whereas with the South African 10 debate at the moment, from the outside at least, it feels much more like sitting down over a cup of tea and stroke a beard, smoke a pipe, and like, well, if we want to do this, then this guy's probably the guy. But if we want to do this, how do you see the landscape between the three guys? The three guys are Andre Pollard, Manu Lebok, and Sasha Feinberg Ngomazulu. How do you see the lay of the land between those three guys at the moment?
I think for now, Pollard is still safe, even though he's always, it is a cliche to say he's never been this ultra attacking fly half, or he's a bit awkward when he looks awkward when he's trying to do it, is kind of the thing I feel. It's like he's not as loose in his hips, or his hands aren't fast. He's got slow hands, so he can't get the ball from the 9 and get it to the 12 or 13 in the same amount of as fast as Lebok could do it. So still now, this late in his career, it feels like if we want to become this new Tony Brown attacking side, that he will have to improve his game in that sense for me, or they might have to utilize him differently. Maybe he should carry the ball more to the line, and then a secondary playmaker can be the one pulling the strings. That's a la Willie Leroux, or Damien Willemse, who's the guy who's actually, I think he's actually the starting fullback, but he's injured, so Willie has been the guy in his spot. And then you've got Manu Lebok, who is such a good passer of the ball. His hands are lightning fast. That man has as good a pass as Finn Russell. He's got as good a pass as Marcus Smith. He's just as good as any of those guys running and passing the ball. But that goal kicking, man, that is the thing that we keep butting our heads against. Is the big game comes along, the chips are down, we're up by or down by 1 point. Who do you give the ball? What do you do? And immediately you can just see everyone just tightens up, even against Portugal, a game with no pressure. Why is it not getting better? Why is it such an issue?
The Glasgow semi-final, where the guy was holding the ball on the tee, it was like, this is going to go bad.
If it's wet,
the frustrating thing is that he can go 3 games without missing one, and then have just a game where he gets none.
Yeah, and if that happens, then all of a sudden the entire planet is on him again, and it's so hard to get out from under that. It happened to Elton Yankees. No one ever respected him as a fly half, because he made 2 or 3 mistakes, and that might get into his head, and then the whole game is gone. And the same happens with Mani. He kicks, he misses one, and then you're like, well, that's the entire game's kicks buggered. So forget about them. We're going to have to score in 5s. It's just, it's a mechanics thing, because he swings his leg around. He doesn't swing it through the ball. He swings it around, and that just means you will be more inaccurate. It causes injuries to your groin because you're not swinging a natural muscle movement. You can't swing the same swing every time because you're swinging around when you kick, and it's just a bad mechanics issue that he's got. And unfortunately, it's like Patrick Harrington, the golfer, no talent, has to just practice. And if it feels like if he misses a couple practices, his kicking just goes to hell.
Yeah.
So now we've got Sasha, who seems to be the combination of the two, just the perfect, the perfect thing that we've all been waiting for. The new Damian Willemse, because Damian Willemse was Sasha in 2019, you know, the new 20-year-old. And now I think we've all decided, yes, Damian Willemse is the 15 and he can slot into 12 if he needs to. Sasha is the 10 and he can slot into fullback. Some people are saying 12. I don't know why you would
He's been playing 12 for the Stormers, but I'm just not sure.
I don't think it's a good at test level. You need Bandiaki, you need Damien de Allende. Yeah, you need big bodies. You need Geordie Barrett, Ollie Lawrence for England. Those are the types of guys I want at 12. I do not want a Matt Giteau. Those days are gone. You need a monster at 12 these days. And for me, Sasha is not the guy. I would happily have him at 15. I'd happily have him at 10 or at 23 as the guy who does everything.
Exactly. That was the thing of when people were having the debate was like, oh, do people who want money. I'm a huge money fan. I'm team money. I think I agree with you. I think running and passing, I think is the best that South Africa have got. But this goal kicking is the thing. So people have been saying, all right, have money at 10 and have Sasha at fullback because Sasha's kicking is as good as Pollard's, and
he can be the Ramos to Money's and
and he can hit the long goals as well. And then it was like, well, what about Willie Leroux, who's been amazing for however long? Like, oh, have him on the bench is fine. And it's like, well, what about Willemse? Like, oh shit, forgot about Willemse because he's been injured. So now you've got the five players for 2 jerseys or 3 jerseys. And it's like, it's a hell of a headache to have, but it is a headache, isn't it?
Yeah. But I hope I'm gonna sound like an arsehole now. I hope we don't go down the path of England where you force yourself into putting all of them on the field at the same time. No, we must have Marcus Smith. No, we must have Owen Farrell. No, we must have Slade, blah, blah, blah. And then you put Marcus Smith at 15 for some reason, you know, forget about all that stupid stuff. If you're going with Sasha Feinberg and Gormazulu and you want Damien Willemse, sorry, Marnie misses out. If you want Andre Pollard and you want Willie, sorry, one of the other guys that misses out. And that's just what people are going to have to live with. You have to make those tough choices. New Zealand went through the same thing with Barrett and Mwanga. How do we get these 2 guys on the field and Geordie Barrett and that guy and that guy and that guy? And sometimes you just have to say, sorry, someone has to miss out. These are the guys we're going with, and those guys will be in the wings if we need them. Or horses for courses. You know, you let Pollard play against the All Blacks because you might need the kicking game, but you can put Mane up against Argentina because you want to run up a score so you can get a bonus point or something like that.
Yeah. See, it's fascinating. This is what I'm saying about. It's much more of a strokey beard type discussion rather than he's not your guy, blah, blah, but I'm used to. Shame that. So what's your Rugby Championship predictions then? Do you think you're going to get the job done? Having New Zealand at home has got to be the deciding factor, surely.
Yeah. Well, it feels like Australia are there. I saw now Fraser McWright is injured. He's going to miss the games against the Springboks. He was one of the main problems for us when we lost against them a few years ago. So with their injuries, their scrum is looking a lot better, but they're very young locks. So we should be able to take Australia. And Argentina, I think we're only playing later in the championship away. Yeah, we're playing them away and at home. So we should be able to take them as well. It's just those 2 New Zealand tests. And people like to think the Boks are good at Ellis Park, but against New Zealand, they win many games there. So I'll be there shouting and screaming, hoping for a good game. Cool. If we can beat Australia in Australia, I think we are on a good way. If we lose that first game against Australia, you can almost already say, it's New Zealand's championship to lose. Because if we lose away from home and lose 1 against New Zealand at home, because I think we're playing 1 game in Cape Town, which there's so many New Zealand fans in Cape Town that could also go badly. Then we're in trouble. So we have to beat Australia away. Then I think we have a good chance.
I love it. It's so sometimes the Rugby Championship feels like there's not much jeopardy assigned to it, but this season feels like there's jeopardy.
And it's always down to like bonus points and that kind of stuff. Like we've lost to New Zealand, the championship to New Zealand so many times because they scored bonus points in a game that we didn't, or we beat Australia but we beat them by 10 points, and New Zealand beat Australia by 40 points. So they win the championship. That happens way too often. So I hope this year it's a bit more even, and we don't, or if we smash Australia, the New Zealanders don't, so that we can just stay ahead on bonus points.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I'm going to be back in the box, I think. Although I have started, since New Zealand kind of stopped being number one in the world, I kind of feel more comfortable rooting for them. It doesn't feel like I'm rooting for the bad guys as much anymore.
Yeah, no,
anyway,
we'll be the heel. We being the heel means there's a reason to be the heel. So I'll be happy to be the heel.
Yeah. So finishing up then, let's talk about the Currie Cup just quickly. So we have a decent South African listenership, and we get comments about the Currie Cup every now and again. So this is something that I'm following this season for the first time. I know that you follow it as well. So talk about like the Premier Division first. I was told that this was going to be a development tournament, but I've seen some of those teams that the Sharks have put out. I've seen some of the teams that the Bulls have put out, and I'm thinking, that doesn't look that development. There's a lot of URC players in there, and the Sharks putting out some Springboks every now and again. This is the Currie Cup has kind of been reinvented this year. So what's the vibe?
It's that old lady. We just can't let her go. We should never let her go. It is the I think it's the oldest cup competition in the world, rugby cup competition in the world. If you look at the history of it, it is, I think it's the oldest one. Anyways, so we love it in South Africa. We might not go to the stadiums because the games are played at 3:00 on a Friday afternoon. No one's going to be able to go there. But it is still, if you can put on your CV that you won a Currie Cup, you are rated as a good rugby player. It's still a very highly sought after trophy. It's a beautiful trophy. People want to drink out of it. Legends have won that trophy. The final is always somehow still sold out, even though even up to the semifinals, you might have half empty stadiums. But when that final rolls around, it is always full. There's just something about it that we can't let go of. If they named it anything else, no one would care. But because that name is attached to it, that cup, if you can win that cup, people are interested in it. And then the players, I mean, we do have an agreement where players must have 8 weeks break at some point in the season, but it's a per player basis. So there will be ERC players, like maybe from the Lions, Quan Horn. I don't know. We don't know who will get rested and who won't. But it might be that we won't see Quan Horn again. If he doesn't play for the Springboks, we might not see him in the Currie Cup as well, because he needs 8 weeks now, because he did the whole URC season. So he needs a break. Guys like that. But then you might have a guy like Simpilo Gumede for the Bulls, who sat on the bench a lot during the season, during the URC, or was injured. So he can run out for the Bulls because he's had plenty of rest throughout the year. So that's how they are going, a per player basis. It gets tracked very closely by the My Players Association in South Africa, and they know exactly how many minutes each player's done. So you will see pretty strong sides get put out, and it is a good way to keep our guys fresh. If we have an injury crisis in the Bok team, you just call someone out of the Currie Cup and say, okay, next cab off the rank, please come and replace whoever. That's what's been useful about the Currie Cup as well.
Yeah, it's cool. I've been following it. It's more high scoring than I was expecting. I'll be honest, especially because it's in my head it was like, oh, it's been played in the winter down there, so that will keep the scores down. But no, your winter is different, and I didn't understand.
It's bone dry.
So do you think the Lions are doing okay, aren't they?
Yeah, we lost our first game this weekend because this bloody Sharks came up with a bunch of Springboks and a bunch of junior boks who were very good as well. So they outkicked us. They kept us in our half. We could not exit, and then we gave away a red card. And the URC thing where the Lions get a red card and all of a sudden turn into a world-beating mega side did not happen. We were terrible and just kept making mistakes. And we had no kicking game. We couldn't exit, so they just ran at us and made us look silly. They have the Sharks had a few junior boks in their side who are looking very, very good. And that's what you get as well. You get a very big age difference between the youngest and oldest guy in the squad. You might get a couple 20-year-olds playing with a few guys who are in the late stage of their career. Lionel Cronje is already 35. So you do get that, like, guys returning from overseas, maybe their last season ever, they'll play in a Currie Cup side, and then the guys coming up from Varsity Cup or the under-20s, okay, this is where they make their name to try and get into the URC team for next year. So it is kind of a, when they say development, that's what they mean. This is where we see, okay, what guys are good enough to go into the URC next year, and then the older heads coming back, they can impart some knowledge onto the young guys, which is nice. So it's a win-win, and yeah, it is wide open because the stakes aren't that high. So yeah, the defenses might be a little less less tight.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, I'm enjoying following it as well. So, Riaan, we've come to the end of our hour together. Thank you so much for joining me on the pod. Yeah, so fast. We've covered a wide range of topics. I hope everybody who listened/watched has enjoyed it. A reminder for everybody to follow the Linktree link in the description box down below for all of our socials, so you don't miss anything that we ever upload. We've got Twitter, we've got TikTok, we've got all of the things. And yeah, thanks again, Riaan. And we will speak to everybody again. Well, I was going to say next week then. Probably not next week. Follow us on Twitter, and then you'll find out when we're going to put something else out. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.